Breaking developments on the vaccine front. The FDA gives formal approval for the Pfizer vaccine, and shipments are expected in Colorado this weekend.
It's been pretty lonely, you could say.
They've been stuck at home, away from friends, away from extracurricular activities.
I think that it's just had a huge effect on us that people don't see.
Tonight, a Colorado teen is calling on the governor, saying mental health problems among his peers are real, and it's already claiming lives.
Questions about how your tax dollars are being spent.
As a taxpayer, I'm pissed.
More than $1 million spent to house COVID-positive homeless at an Aurora Motel.
I think what happened there is not what was intended to happen.
Tonight, Denver7 Investigates continues to hold those accountable, as city leaders admit this could have been handled better.
We start with that major development in what promises to be a turning point in this pandemic. The FDA greenlights the Pfizer coronavirus vaccine, so that means millions of doses will be shipped out to states starting tomorrow.
We know about 46,000 doses are coming to Colorado. Each Pfizer shipment will be GPS monitored, and we know the vaccine must be stored at ultra cold temperatures. So each package will also contain a thermal monitoring device to make sure the packages stay that cold while in transit.
And once the vaccines are here in Colorado, they'll go first to healthcare workers and residents of long-term care facilities.
Today, the state health department identified the facilities that will be among the first to receive the Pfizer vaccine. 46 hospitals will get the Pfizer vaccine. About 150 will get the Moderna vaccine once that's approved. Most sites will only get a few hundred doses, so they'll have to prioritize. Only 9 sites will get about 1,000 or more doses.
So University of Colorado Hospital in Aurora will get the most, 7,800. Children's Hospital will get nearly 5,000 doses. UC Health, Poudre Valley Hospital, Denver Health, St. Joseph Hospital, and Swedish are also getting at least 1,000 doses. Widespread distribution isn't likely until summer. A quick update on that Moderna vaccine. The Department of Health and Human Services is purchasing 100 million doses of that one. The FDA will review Moderna's vaccine next week. We know you have so many questions about this vaccine, and that is exactly why we're going to host a town hall Tuesday night, 6:30, to answer your questions. Irene Trujillo will be moderating. She'll be joined by Governor Polis and health leaders. So what are your questions? What are your concerns? Please let us know. Email us at 360@thedenverchannel.com.
Another breaking story we're monitoring tonight out of Jefferson County. A house fire is now being investigated as arson and attempted murder. The fire happened on South Depew Street. One man was rushed to the hospital. A woman was taken into custody. Stay with Denver7 as we learn more.
At this hour, I-70 is closed both directions of Vail Pass because of multiple crashes and spin-out vehicles. Look at that. What a mess. Temperatures are dropping. Roads are icy. Obviously, they're very slick. Now, as for the snow, tapering off for tonight, but another burst is expected tomorrow.
Katie LaSalle is tracking it all. We'll check in with her in just a bit. Well, this pandemic is affecting all of us in different ways, but for students out of the classroom, teens say they're seeing a mental health crisis among their peers.
Denver7 Sloan Dickey sat down with one student who is calling on the governor to make changes as more teens around him take their own lives.
During the coronavirus pandemic, a different health crisis has emerged among adolescents.
I know that my peers are struggling with it.
Several Colorado teenagers speaking out this week about what they see as a massive decline in mental health among their peers.
We've had multiple suicides in our region in the last couple of weeks.
Kyle Goebel lives in Otis, Colorado. He wrote this letter yesterday to Governor Polis saying students are suffering.
I think that it's just had a huge effect on us that people don't see.
And also pointing out what he sees as an urban-rural divide in the approach to COVID regulations, lockdowns, and school closings.
I mean, we have a way smaller population where I live, and that's not being taken into consideration. It's a one-size-fits-all, and I don't think that that's correct.
His school is open, but he says concerns from his community have gone unanswered.
Does he even know about these suicides that are happening? Does he know about the mental health struggles that we're going through?
And Goebel isn't alone. Another letter by a teenager in northeastern Colorado caught the governor's attention today.
So I think it's wonderful that you have a young leader there in Marino that is helping to lead the way in talking about the mental health benefit.
Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser says the state is paying attention to the struggles of adolescents and rural Coloradans.
My goal for us in Colorado is to make the next year the year of empathy, so that everyone is listened to.
He says everyone of all ages has a voice.
And they should continue to find ways to express how they're feeling what concerns they have.
The Attorney General directs the state's Safe to Tell student hotline. This year, they've seen an increase in cyberbullying and welfare checks on suicidal students.
We need to realize that we're living in a very stressful time.
Goebel hasn't heard back yet from the governor.
I think that that's the conversation that I'd like to have with him, is just inform him about how it's going out here and what's happening.
But he says the conversation about mental health, about differences of opinion, will continue. Sloan Dickey, Denver7.
Don't hesitate to get help if you need it. You can call the Colorado Crisis Services line. That number is right there on your screen, 1-844-493-TALK, or text TALK to 38255.
Tonight, a mountain town tragedy. 2 Central City firefighters were found dead in their homes this morning. 29-year-old Cody Allen was a volunteer firefighter since 2009. In fact, he was just promoted to full-time lieutenant. And his 27-year-old wife, Shelby Allen, had been volunteering with the fire department since 2016. Both grew up and met in Gilpin County. They just got married 2 years ago. Tonight, the Gilpin County Sheriff's Office is still investigating how they died. Of course, our thoughts tonight are with their families. Well, tonight, as part of Denver7's The Rebound, we're following the money. Taxpayers came forward saying they were frustrated by what Denver7 Investigates uncovered at an Aurora Motel earlier this year.
More than $1 million of your money spent to house homeless people who were positive for COVID-19. It was a lot of money spent considering a majority of those rooms sat empty.
Well, tonight we continue to hold those accountable. Chief investigative reporter Tony Kovaleski has reaction from a key city leader who says the city was duped.
I think it really opened eyes in the city
She's talking about what we found inside this Aurora Motel.
that maybe we were not told the truth.
A motel that sits in the middle of Marsha Berzin's council district.
I think what happened there is not what was intended to happen.
Federal tax dollars provided more than $1 million to transform this 122-room motel into a destination for homeless residents needing a place to stay after testing positive for COVID-19.
If you found out that people were staying here who had COVID, like a lot of people, how would you react?
I'd be very mad. I would want somebody done because I was risking.
Our hidden camera investigation uncovered a problem that surprised Aurora City leaders.
Did you know it was a COVID hotel?
No, I did not.
When you were here for that month, you didn't know?
No, I had no idea.
Back in August, after the city elected to only rent half of the motel, several motel room renters told our hidden cameras they had no idea the other half of the motel was housing COVID-positive homeless individuals.
I thought it was important. I came back and told you that this motel has housed COVID patients since April. What's your reaction now knowing the truth?
It's messed up because that put me at risk without me even knowing.
The lady in the wheelchair who was rented a room in that hotel, I don't blame her for being upset. I would be upset too.
People coming in from out of town, do they know what they're checking into? This is a hotel from hell. He's an Aurora resident and a whistleblower. Dean Antweiler reached out to Denver7 Investigates.
Nobody's paying attention to what's going on here.
His frustration centered on the lack of disclosure we uncovered at the motel.
Just so I'm sure, are there any COVID patients that are staying here now?
No.
Have there been any recently?
No.
None. Not last week, not last month.
No.
And there are also questions about the amount of money, Federal CARES Act dollars spent for the facility. Our review of the records found taxpayers spent $1.1 million to provide housing and meals for those homeless COVID-positive individuals. And when we analyzed those numbers, we found during the 5 months the motel was used, only 116 people moved in. On average, only 24 of the 122 rooms were used per night. That boils down to a cost to taxpayers of nearly $300 a night for a room in a motel.
The city doesn't give a damn. They don't think the taxpayers are paying attention.
After watching our investigation, in hindsight, could this have been managed better?
I believe it could. I feel like it could have been done better.
Councilmember Berzin says the intent was always to be proactive, to save lives and prevent the spread of the virus. Once again, we asked to speak with the owners of the motel. Our request for an interview in response to our reporting was declined. In Aurora, I'm Chief Investigative Reporter Tony Kovaleski.
Unbelievable. Thank you, Tony. Tonight, we're hearing from Colorado's first gentleman for the first time since he was released from the hospital earlier this week. Marlon Reese and Governor Jared Polis are reminding Coloradans this virus isn't a joke. Although the governor had mild symptoms, Reese says his inflammatory levels were 10 times what they should be. He suffered fatigue, shortness of breath, lower abdominal pain.
This is a serious disease, friends. Don't assume that if you get it, you'll automatically have a mild version. It's just not worth taking a chance when we have good tools at our disposal to avoid exposure.
They're reminding everyone to wear your mask, social distance, and wash your hands.
Most of us are pretty exhausted.
They haven't stopped fighting, and they've made countless sacrifices to help total strangers.
Our whole family's never missed a Christmas Eve, ever.
Tonight, a local nurse says despite feeling isolated, she's explaining why it is so important to stay away from loved ones this Christmas.